Well, while we're having fun delaying, for those on the call who haven't thought about it, good time to go after everybody's favorite company, Zillow. Even though Arizona's got most of the houses that them guys are tanking on, it's a good conversation piece to go after with your sellers and even your buyers. So if you don't, I always say, if you need an excuse to talk to somebody, use as the excuse. Go pull up an article about Zillow, see what people are saying, what the thoughts are long range, how it's going to impact things for sellers as far as their market, whatever, buyers for opportunity to buy, and use as a conversation piece to go re-engage some of your buyers that have been long-term or sellers that have been sitting on the fence. So since everybody starts their search, what do? Open up Zillow. Good time to use Zillow to put money back in your pocket.
Great point, Leon. Robert, you have a question. Go ahead.
I was just going to add on to Leon. I just made a BombBomb video and I uploaded it to YouTube, and it was just like, hey, Zillow took a hit. This is why it happened. And it's the first time I've had more than 50 views on any video.
The saddest thing is that they're still going to end up okay. They're going to sell off all those properties to brokers. They're going to lump them all together and they're going to somehow absorb their losses. They're going to be fine, which is sad. I think they should pay for their algorithmic mistakes, but we'll see what happens.
Soak up the moment to say, hey, we've been saying Zillow's wrong.
One other thing, Robert, real quick suggestion. Anybody that's going to post it over to Facebook suppresses their competition. So what you do is go Google free video converter. Convert your, well, you should be able to put BombBomb in Facebook. Go ahead and put it on Facebook. But if you're doing a YouTube thing, convert that video over to an MP4. It's free 99, and post that inside your Facebook channel, because that one won't get suppressed. If it's a YouTube channel link that you put in Facebook, it won't get as much play. So if you want even more engagement, just go convert it over to MP4 format, post that in your not YouTube channel, but your Facebook channel, and I guarantee you'll get even more hits.
But how about a conversation piece around that whole Zillow thing and why you don't want to count on the internet's best guess for value? I mean, you could change some of your information in those first messages going out. Hey, as evidenced, I don't know if you're aware that there's been some conversation around, how the internet can't guess at your value. Like we're never going to be able to out-human the human. We're always going to need a human. So here I am, I'm a human. I'm on the other end of this. Let me help you with your value. Don't rely on systems like this to do this for you. And this is evidence why. So use that in your communication going out, the value of not relying on the internet. I always say the internet's drunk when it comes to your value. Like it's just haphazardly taking a guess. Do you want a drunk person in control of your most valuable asset? No, you want somebody who is sane and has knowledge and has background and knows your community and your area and can decipher whether those robots in the background are bringing you something that's completely out in left field, or whether they are bringing you something of value and hitting on it right. So it's really about just communicating. It's always about education and understanding. You want to bring people to a higher level of education, and because what you've added to them, they now know that you're someone who's educated and you're going to help them come to a higher understanding. They don't know all the stuff you know. I think it's evidenced by in the group this week, Kim, I'm going to talk about Kim here, that she posted something about this ad is wrong because it says something about lists, and every real estate agent reads the word list different than half of the population, because listings are something you love. And I was like, no, it's an actual list of the 12 things. It's not a listing. And it's just you guys eat, sleep, drink, like maybe not sleep, roll over in your beds at night thinking about real estate. Not many people in your lives have the same knowledge base that you do. So just go out there and educate, and don't assume that everybody knows everything. I can't go live to Facebook. Apparently I don't have the right permissions. So I moved it over to Troy to see if he could go live. But is this only a Marcus thing? Marcus is only the one that has the permissions.
How have we become so reliant on one man? We gotta we gotta work on that.
So let's open it up. It's 8 minutes after the hour. We've chit chatted, but who wants to share? Who's got wins, insights? Feel free, unmute, no matter how big, no small. I can randomly just pick on people.
I can share a win. I sent this to Marcus and Kim earlier this week. So I do a lot of retargeting. I use a lot of my StreetText data for retargeting on Facebook because, then I'm not having to actually show up in their inbox. I can show up everywhere they are online. So anyway, I uploaded a StreetText list to Facebook the other day, and I sent out a retargeting audience. My 100% watch on my video series that's going out to the StreetText people is at 37%. Which is much higher than anything else because my 100% watch on other audiences that I create is somewhere around like 6 to 7%. So 37% on StreetText, which is a huge win.
That's huge. That says that you're making an impression the first time you come across that audience. So that audience is interested in the next content that they're getting from you. So that's huge. I love that.
And that is awesome. What are you posting as your retargeting ad?
I don't know why I turned off my video just now. That's weird. Obviously I don't know how to use a Zoom. It just really depends. Sometimes I'll do actually the exact same video that goes out in the email sequences that I have. So I actually, the one that's going on right now is I just launched a community page. I created a page just for my community with a bunch of insights, videos, neighborhood tours, open houses, listings, just like a full-on website for my community. And I did a little intro video to introduce it. And that's one that went out. It's less than 45 seconds. It's just a quick highlight and then clicks them over to the website. So that's one of them. And then it just depends. Like right now I'm actually writing, because we just said the thing about Zillow, I'm actually just doing a script on what's an AVM, what's an online estimator, why you can't rely on them, why you need a human. And that's gonna be the next one to go out. And I'm kind of using the same script to that. That's actually in my follow-ups because I have a script like that in my follow-up sequence. So I'm kind of using that same series or that same theme.
Okay, that is so good. And I just want to kind of like zoom in for a second, because when you capture somebody online, you're running an ad that's highly attractive. You're somebody that's thinking about selling their home. This is on their mind. What's my home worth? They need to know, it's just they have to have that data. But the next question becomes, do you have my best interest at heart? That becomes the very next question. It's like, yes, I got my home data. I trust that you're competent in what you do. You obviously are good at real estate. But my next question is it has to be answered. And so however we go out and answer that question, so in our emails, when we put in a video and we talk about things just like Linnea shared, that's a way where people start to say, okay, I get to see you, I get to trust you, I get to understand more about what it is that you do. And by doing the exact same thing in your retargeting ad, you're basically, it's a 1-2 punch. You're hitting your audience with the exact same type of content. And so they're moving from, okay, I see you, I was interested in this problem. I now know that you're good at real estate because I've got an answer to my question, but I actually am now getting to the place where I trust you and I know that you've got my best interest at heart. But most importantly, you're answering the questions that I have. So that is really, really key, because the art of online leads, the art of real estate is relationships. We know about this. We talk about this. If you believe in building business, you make your business to build relationships. If you believe in relationships, but the thing is that in business, there's really 3 competencies. There's 3 things that really, really matter in going out there and building and building your business and growing. And number 1 is obviously you got to be competent. You got to be really good at what you do, and I think that's answered. Number 2, you got to be really good at building relationships, getting out there, networking, meeting people in your sphere, finding strategies to do that with your marketing, getting beyond your sphere. Basically, you got to get really good at forming and developing new strategic relationships in business. But number 3, this is the most important one of all those, is character. It's the character question becomes, that's what people are in the back of their minds are asking is, can I trust this person with my largest personal investment that I've ever had. Can I trust this person to have my best interest at heart? Or are they going to have their best interest at heart? Can I trust this person to be honest and to tell me the truth? So character is really, really critical. And when we run our marketing, when it comes to the nurturing component, you're hitting on the two that really matter: competency and trust. And trust is formed when you form connection, which is empathy. And trust is formed when you can then communicate that you have their best interest at heart. So I just wanted to just double click on that for a second, Linnea, because what you are running in your retargeting, obviously it's a video, it's yourself. So people get to step inside of, you know, how you do your business and the value you communicate, but that consistency starts to really establish that trust. Joe, I see a hand.
Hi, thank you.
Hey, Joe. How
I
you doing?
appreciate all that. It's a good reminder for me. Well, yes. I also find that, you know, as I get out of my comfort zone and just be who I am online, goofball humor, whatever it is, it's also another way to connect with people, especially when I think in this day and age, people are there's a lot of anger, a lot of stress, a lot of all kinds of things going on, and laughter and connection make a big difference. One thing I have a question about is retargeting. And you know, for whoever wants to answer, how do you guys go about retargeting? To me, when I hear that, I mean, clearly there's a lot of value to it to stay in front of folks. Online retargeting, are you doing these things on your own, or are you hiring a company to say, okay, here are the different ad campaigns that I have going, and here are the different retargeting campaigns that I have going based on these ads to keep that message consistent with, you know, retargeting in the ads? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. Before we jump in and ask like the hows, I just want to step back for a second. Your retargeting is essentially, it's just a form of nurturing. And there are many channels that you have available to you to nurture. So email obviously is retargeting.
Right.
But so is your Facebook feed. Every time we talk about this, the click started on Facebook. When you go back and you add that person, you find them as a friend and then they become a friend of yours, that's your cheapest form of retargeting advertising on Facebook. Literally, they're now in your newsfeed. They get to see what you are posting, and you will be shocked at how many people, like, you know, you'll get like so many likes, you'll get so many comments, but there are so many people who, you know, I've been doing these hikes lately. So I've been sharing a little bit about the hikes. Everyone's telling me like, oh, I've been seeing your hikes around. And I was like, really? I had no idea. But people are always watching you on Facebook. Remember that. And so that becomes your cheapest form of retargeting. If you can find them, match them, get them back as a friend on Facebook, start with that comment of how you know them. You know, maybe you know somebody in comment, or, you know, you were helping them with the real estate. That's the cheapest form. Remember, but then back to the how. It's really easy to create a retargeting ad. There's two ways you can do it. The easiest way of all is when you go to your ad account, create a new campaign, and then in your audience for your ad set, select your StreetText pixel and select the leads one, and that's automatically going to pull in all of the people that you've been able to target and capture from your StreetText ads already. And then you can just add the ad and upload a video, something that maybe you're running already on BombBomb, but just use that video. And of course, make it funny if you, I think that's such a great way. Any way you can accelerate connection.
Yeah. Yeah.
Critical.
No, and I appreciate the reminder that, you know, again, it doesn't have to be complicated getting people in your Facebook feed or friending people or connecting with people on whether it's Facebook or even Instagram, which, you know, followers is technically retargeting. It's a component of retargeting. Okay. Good reminder.
Yeah. As many ways you can hit them as possible.
Yeah.
It's also loaded in the files there for the insider group for StreetText, for the one you built out last year for the retargeting. So anybody that wants that can go in there and just download the Word document and just follow it all the way through. And if you're going to run a retargeting, it's not a lot of money, because what people aren't thinking is it's not going to find you new clients. It retargets your old ones. So you can run a $4 a day or $5 a day ad. You won't spend all of it. It's only going to hit the people in your database. So it's not shooting out to 100,000 people and you're spending $1 million a month. It's only going to hit the people you've already got in your group. So it's cheap way to reach out to them, but you get a very good return for the money you spend.
Yes, it's so cheap. It's so great. And you want to really retarget them with video and get creative and get fun. Like you could do a monthly market update that becomes just part of your, it could be the same ad. You literally are just changing the video once a month. You can do one thing that's really powerful is brag on somebody you've been working with recently, like a client of yours. Talk about how excited you were because they found, you helped them navigate this journey, and ultimately they found the home that they've been looking for in a really tough market. And those are the kinds of stories that are going to really speak to people. If you're talking about a home seller, talk about the journey they had, all the questions they had, how one of the questions that you thought was really interesting to you personally, just share that question, because it's probably going to be really interesting to everybody else who's thinking about selling. And then if you want, feature businesses in your community, in your retargeting, because all of these videos they're just really, really great opportunities for somebody to get to know you and like you and trust you for pennies of the dollar, because you're only showing these ads to people who have already clicked on, actually requested one of your offers.
Yeah, and I think a huge thing to think about here, Linnea said something that was really important, is she said, I'm using the same video that I send in this. And I love the quote, everywhere you go, there you are again. You are so like inundated with your own stuff that you think everyone else sees it all day, every day. They don't. They're so busy. Everywhere they go, there they are again. So when it comes down to like content, there's a lot of fear over repeating content. And a lot of times you're like, no, I don't have enough content. Well, throw the same content even into your drips, throw it into your emails, throw it onto every channel you have, because people aren't seeing it like you think they're seeing it. Like Linnea is saying, 37% of people watch that video. Those are awesome stats, but that means 60 some odd percent didn't see the video.
But that was like 100% play, which is insane. So 37% of people watched 100% of the video.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
So it's like repeat your content, like go back even in your 9-month drip campaign. I was having a conversation with JC in there, and your 9-month drip campaign, like what do you tag on to the end of it? Take some of the content that's at the beginning of it and tag it on to the end of it, because they're not remembering. They might have read it. Like I'm reading the same book that I've read, like it's the 4th time I'm reading it. Because the first time I missed stuff, like the second time I missed stuff, the third time I missed stuff. There's the power in repetition. You need to be there all the time. So do not worry about, like I've said, I've gotten 37 or so mailers at my house, but there's some of those mailers that I'm noticing because they came the 3rd time. Like all the ones that came once, I didn't see them. There's so much power in repetition. So don't be fearful of having to always create brand new, unique content. Take the content you already have done and turn it into different channels and different things and reuse that content. Kim, you were going to say something.
One thing to caution with that you want to do though is make sure, if people don't think branding is important, they need to be very cautious. Remember this: if you send something all the time and everything looks different, they have no brand recognition. So make sure that you've got your logo or something, so when they see it and look at it, you don't want to go from soft blue to hot pink and like, oh my God, fire engine red. You need to go ahead and make sure that you are branding. So when they look, oh, that's Linnea, or oh, that's Jason, or oh my God, there we go, there's Marcus. They need to see something for recognition that catches their eye, that they know it's you. That way they'll still open it and look at it, but you're still getting your message across.
Man, Leon, that is such a good point. So when you run your ads in StreetText, you'll notice that if you're running the map image, you're going to have the map image as the background for the landing page. The reason for that is because we can tell from the conversion statistics that it makes a crazy difference. The reason you get a 65% click to contact ratio, which means 65% of everybody that clicks that ad is turning into a contact. The reason that's such a high number is because it's congruent. When it's not congruent, there's something in the back of people's minds where they're like, oh, that's not what I was expecting. Or I'm not sure if I trust this anymore. Something's changed. They don't even consciously necessarily even notice it, but there's in the back of their mind, something changed. And so it's the same thing with your brand. You don't have to go overboard, but just keeping it super, super simple. So if it's, let's say you just send, Gmail and your emails are white, that's fine. If you have a banner or something in there and it's always consistent, well, that's great. Make sure that consistency is in the other emails too. Just because you want people to say, okay, every time I see you, I know what it looks like. And so I know this is, Joe. Let's say I get an email from Joe. I'm like, oh yeah, it's Joe. I know it's from Joe before I even read the email. Just because every time I get an email from Joe, because I'm actually, one of the things that every time you send an email, like every time say Joe sends an email and he's crafting something, he's thinking through it, maybe he's got a video in there, he's building onto into my mind that this is worth reading because there was high value in there. And so he's literally branded the style of that email in my mind. So every time I see that email now, the next time my likelihood of reading it has gone up because I know when I see that email, it's useful. And it's so simple, but when we create newsletters, it's one of the most powerful ways of really building relationship with our potential clients, because they get to get something that's really valuable. They get to know a little bit more about you. Maybe you're sharing some things that you did that was fun. Maybe you had you had fun on Halloween. Who knows it? But you're sharing something in there that's personal and fun, or something that you feel is no different than your Facebook newsfeed. You would share those anywhere. And then you're going to share stuff in there again that you're going to wrap it up that's highly valuable to them. Maybe it's like new listings they should take a look at, or something like that. But when you're doing that, the look and feel should feel and look the same as the other emails you're sending, so that when they get them, they're just constantly thinking to themselves, oh, this is from Joe again. But it's just, I know when I get stuff from Joe, it's useful and it's valuable, and I always like to read it. I might not reply, but I always read it because I just know it's relevant. And so that's a big part of branding, which is it's the quality of the product is now associated with something that is visually congruent.
Yeah, because you're basically creating trust in your brand, and that's what you want. You want them to look at that and go, oh, that's Robert, that's Donna, or oh, that's Sarah, and they'll look at it. And that way, even if I always say, when you make changes, you don't want to go extreme. You want to grow on people, but you want them to look at that. And even if the thing's muted or silent, when they look over and go, oh, wow, okay, click. There's trust in the brand, not just scroll past it with the other 10 junk ones I have. Because a lot of times we somehow don't think beyond the fact that we're the only one, and we're not the only one. Surfing the internet is called that for a reason. So, someone in here the other day, I said, man, props to them, because their thing is they reach out to somebody right away, that speed delete thing. And so the only thing I'd warned about speed delete is don't over deliver right off the bat. Find out what they need so you can deliver what they want best. But you definitely have to trust in yourself. And like I say, brand awareness is a big player in this, because you got to have trust in order to build a relationship.
Yeah, well said.
And there's more to you than your real estate. And that's the part that people are going to connect with. So it's like people make decisions, purchasing decisions, in the limbic part of their brain. If you've read It Starts With Why, they make it in that feeling part of their brain. They don't make it in the factual part of the brain. And sometimes when we're in real estate, we're just presenting facts and facts and facts. Like, Linnea's video on the coffee shop is like, I love coffee. Lots of people love coffee. Now I have a moment where I get to be like, I get to promote a business in my area. And maybe you end up going to that coffee shop because you presented it to me. I'm going to remember you every time I go there. Like I told my wife, like, she's been baking sourdough lately, and I've been doing posts about her sourdough and how I'm doing 75 hard and she's making sourdough like crazy. My cinnamon bun post is like off the charts. Like I posted it like last week, and I'm still getting people commenting on it. And even on my new posts, people are saying, hey, are you dreaming about cinnamon buns again? Like, it's created this conversation around cinnamon buns now. So people are starting to learn who you are, and they want to do business with somebody that they trust and they like, and they can have assimilation to. Some people might be like, this is not my man. Like, I don't want to do 75 hard. This guy's like crazy. I'm going to go do business somewhere else. So it's really about your content doesn't always have to be about real estate. Your content could be about your community and the things that you love and the things that you do in your community. So don't always be, because when you do it from real estate, what you're kind of doing is you're just saying, this is about me. Like, I want a real estate deal and I want to do real estate. And the only thing I want to talk about real estate. You don't always have to do a post. And by the end of the post say, hey, and I sell real estate, by the way. Hey, if you're looking to go in the market, like I do real estate. You don't have to add that to everything you say. Just be out there, just be who you are. And don't always make your content real estate based. And I mean, we can add to that. Kim, you were going to say something earlier. Do you want?
Yeah, I just wanted to add, like, on some of the follow-up, what I've started doing is, as I'm in an escrow, I'm recording different things along the way. Not so much like home inspections or pest inspections, but like I had a situation where I had to bring a dog home while the tent was going on because the seller left town. So I have all these little clips of me and this dog, Rosie. And then during the same period, I brought a horse home because that lady moved out of state and wasn't ready to haul the horse. So I have like all these animals. So I have all these little video clips. So I'm doing a testimonial video where the client actually like talks to me. And then I've got all this B-roll for these animals that I feel like Pippi Longstockings or something. But and putting those in my follow-up sequences, because those tug it. I mean, when I drove that dog to her new home, her old home, but the new owner, because he got to keep the dog and the house, I got choked up. So I've got a video going, yeah, Rosie and I are blah, blah, blah. And I'm going down the road and I'm like, I'm not going to cry. And I just turned it off real quick. But I mean, that stuff is real and people really connect with that. And so I'm going to stick a handful of those in my follow-up. So just an idea.
Reminds me of that old Budweiser commercial. I don't know if you guys remember that, with the horses and the dog and all that. And the dog ran away. And I don't even drink beer really. And I was like, oh, you should drink Budweiser. That's exactly. Tug at those heartstrings anytime you can. I think that's fantastic.
That's such a good idea, Kim. Like, if you talk about the levels of brand, the more you can speak to an emotional state, that's the highest level. Tim Hortons, I don't know if you know Tim Hortons, it's a Canadian brand, but they now, like, their whole thing is they have these magical moments, like a family fishing, and then they just pan to the Tim Hortons cup, or the kids waking up early for practice and they just pan to the Tim Hortons cup. So they're speaking to the emotion, and then you just see the Tim Hortons. It's like it's always there. Suman or Summon. I see your hand.
Suman. Sorry, this might be a stupid question, but how do I run an ad on StreetText, and where do I find that information?
Come to the ads class. We'll get you set up and ready.
Okay, well, send me that link then.
It's in your dashboard. You can have access to any of our classes. You just click book a class and look for the ads help class, and we'll get you all set up, and I'll show you exactly how to run an ad.
Okay, will do. Thank you.
I just sent you the link, Suman.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So more wins. Who else is a win?
Just one guy go.
Well, I just want to add something quickly, because I really need to follow up with all my StreetText. Since I started, I have 80 leads.
Nice.
And this was just a couple of weeks ago. So I really want to start following up with these people and trying to convert them quickly.
Staying,
I'm gonna say it like
present
this.
is the key. Oh yeah, Leon.
The biggest thing in saying wanting to is doing it. If you got to start 3 to 5 a day, there's never enough hours in the day. If you, I treat 15 minutes early an appointment like I'm late. So if I'm 15 minutes early, I'm sitting there, I can send something. The worst thing to do is chase more leads and not work the ones you have. So you need to sit down, time block, and time block is not 8 to 10 every day. You just, when you sit there, as long as you get it done at the end of the day, follow up is there. If you go in the insider group and look at the people and they start talking follow up and the success, the thing that sinks into your mind is they followed up and got it. So don't show up with 160 leads next week and never hit the first 80. because when you're nurturing these folks, the longer they're in the system, it's like they say, growing on the vine, it gets more ripe as it gets older. So you got to start early. I'm having people from 2017 and 18 really hitting me hard now. My better successes are the older clients because I've been nurturing them.
Yeah, we were on the LCA event yesterday, and that was kind of the feeling was, 2022 starts today, really. If you think about it, you really need to get ahead of the lead gen, right? If you really want to have a strong start to 2022, you got to get the leads in today so you can begin nurturing them and start dripping on them, start putting your brand in front of them, everything that we've been talking about so far. Get in front of these individuals now. They might not be ready to sell, right away. That's fine. Right? They're going to sell eventually. These are homeowners. Just get in front of them. And again, just put your personality, put your brand in front of them as quick as possible. And, 2022 should be a good year for all of us.
And that was kind of a thread that somebody started in the insider group, and maybe we can brainstorm around it now and share ideas that you've been doing. Like, how are you creatively reaching out to your older leads? Because I think some of us get hyper focused on the lead when they initially come in, and then when they don't convert and we don't get anywhere with them, we kind of just let that lead go and we start focusing on all the new leads. But it's like aged wine. The leads that have been sitting in your funnel longer are probably riper. So what are some things you're doing that you have found effective or that you're trying right now that you could share? Because I think it's really important to learn a strategy to reach back. Jeff, I see you unmuted.
Yeah, Ira, I'm just kind of curious about how long people create their action plans for their leads. I use Follow Up Boss as my CRM. My leads all go in there. They're placed into an action plan, but that action plan only lasts for 9 months before I have to set them up on a subsequent one. So I'm just curious as to how long the typical action plan lasts for most of the users.
I've got a new one that I'm going to start running this weekend. That's 1,000 days. And in terms of how you think about this, if they don't want you, they can opt out. If they turn around and buy a house, you can go in and change the status for where they are. I sent one out yesterday to almost 2,800 people. I put a copy of it in the StreetText Insider group. And I caution people to, if you're going to do this using BombBomb or whatever, don't put your actual video in there. Make a copy and put it in there so you're not getting bad numbers. I went in, I took the Washington State Energy Commission, I took the 2 power companies that are up here that everybody has to use, and I sent out something saying winners here. And it's a 44-second video, and I was laughing because there's already like several hundred opens, and I anticipate this thing going crazy over the next week or two. But it's just something simple. I didn't ask for anything, giving something of value. I made a joke about I had to go buy a special filter for my furnace because leave it to me to have a furnace that needs a special filter. So it's relaying the fact I have to do this. And like I said, even a renter, if they say something, it's like, oh, wow, your landlord pays your heat bills. Can I move in? So you can take everyday anything to use it, but it's something as simple as that to get it going. I'm just looking for engagement. I don't even want a lot of them to reply because I don't want to reply a lot, but I'm getting in front of them. That's the important thing because I'm setting them up for the stuff that's going to start rolling out on the 1,000-day campaign.
So Leon, how many touches are there over the course of 1,000 days?
I haven't looked at it all because I jacked it off somebody in my Lion desk that built the campaign. but I like the fact that when I looked in there, it's not every single day. It starts out the first week, maybe three touches, and then it spreads out at least every 7 or 10 or 12 days. So not enough to annoy the crap out of everybody, but enough to go ahead and get in front of them. And the thing about it is I'm going to have to go through there and make sure my signature, my branding's on. I'm going to go through every one of those. If he's got a video, I'll replace it with my video for what I do. But it's just the fact that, like, a lot of times, Follow Up Boss, Lion Desk, there's a lot of them out here that have campaigns. You can go Google and find campaigns. Go, what they say, make it your own. So the deal is what I had last year and 2 years ago and 3 years ago that's running, it's no longer relevant because there's been changes. So go find something. If you're running a CRM now, you need to make sure that your material isn't outdated, because the minute they come into that 1, 2, or 3 in a row, they're no good. It's like, this is garbage. They go away from you. So, you need to stay relevant in what you do.
And Leon brings up a great point, is most of these CRMs, Follow Up Boss, Lion Desk, and some of the other big ones all have libraries with existing action plans. And I'm the least creative person in California. So plagiarism is my middle name. So I will go in there into this library, find one that is similar to me and go in there and tweak it instead of having to recreate the wheel. So, I mean, I would just encourage everybody to take a look at existing action plans and existing touches that are already there, personalize them, but you're not going to waste a whole lot of time trying to start from scratch.
So
Well, and
on that
I like
note,
the,
Jeff, I would add
Yeah, go
that the when you are doing that, like say that's a 9-month or a 300-day or 1,000-day touch, you want to really make sure it's hitting people on the journey that they're going through to get to the point that they're ready to do a transaction. So if they're starting in the discovery process, some people are going to start in the discovery process. Some people are actually going to be 1 day out, like they're really close. You want to make sure that you have opportunities to have that conversation all the way along. So the reason that somebody requested their home value, they're going to have that same question another month from now, another 2 months, another 3 months. And the closer they get, the more they're going to really want to know. So obviously you want to know that your home value is right the day you list. So if you have somebody who says, what's my home value? Well, make sure you ask that question in your drips sporadically as well. So just be like, hey, are you still interested in knowing your home value? Or would you like an update to your home value? And that's it. Like that's the whole body, subject line, and everything of the email. Drop that in, because what you're trying to do is you're using the nurturing to keep them engaged, so they build that trust, that knowing, that like, and that of you. But then you're dropping in the questions so that you're sparking a reason to have a conversation. And that's the critical piece.
No, it's really important to incorporate a call to action. We try and put a call to action in every other touch that goes out. So they have a reason, they have some reason to want to respond.
Yeah, that's really the critical. So it's like, if you're doing it a 9-month, or if you're doing it as a 3-year, just make sure that you're hitting them with the questions repeatedly, the same question often that they came to you in the first place with, and then provide constant value. Like, people want to know what's happening in the market, so drop that in. And you can write it out, you can do a BombBomb video, you can do whatever, but just make sure you're including that type of content in those drips as well as whatever is just kind of in there as the generic drip.
I have a quick question for everybody, and I'm going to test this out. I read an article from a technical perspective, sending out, emails with just a static signature, content as opposed to HTML has a tendency of being opened more or being sent to spam less by not doing HTML. Are you guys using HTML signatures or not? Okay, so you're confirming what I was thinking, and I stopped using an HTML signature because of that. So
Alicia from BombBomb had said even they, and you figure them guys drive a lot of traffic, had started going back to their Gmail with less stuff. So what I've done on my Gmail stuff that goes out, I've lowered the links. I've got a link that goes into my website where I want them to go. I don't have 10,000 links in there. I've got like 2.
Right.
And even then, and the other one was a Calendly to set an appointment. So just, less is best. And, I was getting more opens by doing that.
Yep. And I was using Wise Stamp because it was a cool signature, all kinds of functionality to it. But after a while, I'm like, I'm going to go back to something that's just very static with the minimal amount of links in it. So
you can always test it too. Just send it, like there's actual programs that you can use to test it. But what I would do is just send it to about 10 different people and just be like, hey, did you get my email? And if they all got it, it's probably good. Sometimes it's not the HTML that's the problem. The filters are not looking specifically for HTML. What they're looking for is words like, buy, free, like too many emojis in a subject line. Anything that looks like you would probably get it in a cold offer that you never solicited.
Makes sense. I'll keep that in mind too. I just found when I was testing emails, I was creating in Follow-Up Boss with a link to a BombBomb video. Every time I would get it, it would say, this looks safe. There would be a message there that says it looks safe to click it or not. So I just wonder, how that's also being received by other people. Are they even getting the opportunity, or is it going right into spam, or does it go into their inbox saying it looks safe? Does that make sense?
Yeah. You don't want that.
Okay, no more word free.
So Jonathan, it's better to embed the video than it is to create the link to the video.
You can have a link to the video,
right?
But in the what you do not want is only a link to the video. That's going to guarantee go to spam, because it sees a link and it's thinking, what's that for? But if it's, if you have what looks like like the sandwich, if it looks like you got the natural intro, then the link, then that's fine.
Yep. I've been doing it just that way. I'll still play around with it, but again, no more chances. Just keep it clean, text, and maybe a link or two, and that's about it.
Yeah, keep the number of links to the minimum for sure. And in your signature, audit your signature, because sometimes what we'll do is we'll have 10 links in our signatures.
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
Happens all the time.
Use the word complimentary as opposed to free.
Yes.
Hey, Jim, you've had your hand up. You want to jump in?
Yeah, I wanted to go back to, I know Jeff uses Follow Up Boss. Are you using any of the automations?
I use all the automations. The StreetText guys won't want to hear this, but when a lead comes in, the first automation is the StreetText automation and the StreetText text. And then after that, I've shut off the StreetText automation because the leads are all email parsed to Follow Up Boss, where the automation from Follow Up Boss kicks in. If that makes sense.
I'll just quickly
automation
jump in
you're
on that
using
for a
is the right
sec, because the one thing I'll say, Jeff, is that's something I would have recommended to you, and that's something I'd recommend to anybody is, I think our mechanism is fantastic. I think it works great. But at the same time, if you've already invested the time to learn another system that's proving to work for you, there's no need to come in and replicate that work and do it again. So that's kind of why we like, and we built it in a synergistic fashion where you can have, and I always recommend the day one automations to fire from this system, just in case there's, and I always say ghosts in the machine, maybe on our side, maybe on their side, somewhere in the ether between. Who knows? Maybe there was a missed handoff somewhere. So we definitely want to make sure that the day one texts and emails and everything are absolutely coming from our side. And then again, if you've got a long-term nurture campaign that you're satisfied with elsewhere, there's absolutely no reason not to link the systems together and allow that other system to do what it's doing for you. Absolutely.
Yeah. And since Marcus isn't here, I can say this, but I know Marcus is a big proponent of using StreetText as your CRM. And for me, logically, that just didn't work, having essentially two CRMs that were working with the same leads. So thus the reason for shipping all my leads to Follow Up Boss, where they go into action plans.
But the most important thing, Jeff, is that you're following up and you're working your leads. That really is the most important thing. Like what tool you use, if you love that tool and it works well for you and your team, run with it. And so that's why we really want to make, like exactly what Logan said, we want to make it easy to integrate so that you can actually work with the system that works best for you. Yeah.
And also as a brand new agent with so many costs coming into it, we just wanted to make sure our tool had everything you needed to make it work. So that when you aren't ready to invest in the next tool and the next shiny object, as Leon says, you can use things that you already have. You want to make sure that budgeting is such an important part, because when you overextend yourself to get all the shiny, fancy tools, I like to call it vanity metrics. When you're always like, I'm going to work on all the vanity things. So I have all the shiny tools. I have the output that matches what I'm going to do, but you don't actually have, like, you're not using those tools to the simplest of their functions. So it's like, I always go by, I have all things at all times to abound in every good work. So that means that it's the idea that I'm not missing anything. Like I could just use what I have and get to work with it. That's the point. So it's like, we want to build our tools so that if you don't have the fancy CRMs and all that other stuff, you can still do a hell lot of good with just what we have. That's the key.
Yeah, no, totally get that, Ira. And if I were a new agent that didn't have or wasn't familiar with a CRM, StreetText works great. I mean, the automations are already there. So, I mean, even if you just muddle through StreetText when you're first starting out, and then at some point later on down the road, realize that there may be something better for you in terms of the CRM, StreetText functions the same way as any CRM does.
I use StreetText for all of my follow-ups, or basically all of my follow-ups until we make contact with them. Once we make contact with them, we move them over to my CRM, because I don't want my CRM flooded with a bunch of people that I don't have any clue to what their status is. And because my CRM is much more like siloed almost, and like kind of what their need is, that's why they go to my CRM once they're made contact with. So.
What about tags, Linnea? You don't tag them when they first come into StreetText?
Yeah, they're tagged. They're tagged. But if we don't talk to them, I mean, they're still just a lead. But once they become a like an actual like potential client, that's when I put them into my CRM. Because I mean, at first when I started on StreetText, I just basically put everybody into my CRM, and then I was like, whoa, where am I actually going? Because I use my CRM very methodically, right? So if I don't know who the people are, I get really overwhelmed. So immediately I just took them out of automatically going over to my CRM. So that's how we use it.
When you say balling on a budget, the one thing to remember is there's nothing cheap. Even like I said, you can get some of the CRMs maybe 50 to 80 bucks, but that's still 50 to 80 bucks you're spending. And, when you say you're doing follow-up and nurtures, you want to follow up with the people that are actively engaging. So, like I take StreetText, I tag them in there, I move them over into HomeBot and let that do the work. I get up and I go look in HomeBot. That is the best $29 assistant you'll ever own in your life. Mine runs me a little more because I've got like a couple thousand people in there. But the thing is, if you look at, just say, start with the basics and expand. StreetText, build out your platform in there, do your drip campaigns, you're good. I move them into HomeBot. I go into HomeBot and I look at activity. When I look at the person that's looked at my stuff 5 times or 8 times or whatever, they get that email. Hey, John, it's Leon from Premier House's team. I see you were looking at the information I sent you. Do you have any questions? I make it a yes, no. Once I finally get them active, because the biggest thing you remember is not only is spam bad getting delivered into a mailbox, the worst part is also once a person unsubscribes, it's hard to get them back. If you're running a search in the MLS and they unsubscribe, it is hard to get them back in there. It's like I'm going through 10 steps I don't have to. So if I've got 5 people that were engaging in HomeBot and I've got them on the move and now I move them into my other system, I got 10 I'm gonna concentrate on, not the 800 and something leads generated from StreetText. When you say time is money, if you don't have an assistant, you are one. So in your idea of how to be most efficient, most people come into real estate, they get their license and they go, now what? They have no clue. They don't have broker support. They have nothing. That's why a lot of us are sitting in here now, because you want to turn around and get to first place and cross that finish line. And a lot of brokerages don't do that. So you can take the existing systems you have, and sometimes just a tweak here and there and use them different will let you cover more ground. 800 and something leads from StreetText or whatever I got, I don't hit them all. I let the systems work. The ones that come at me, that want to do something, that's who I'm going to go after. So at the end of the day, when you're sitting there and you turn on your TV and you actually get a chance to relax, it's because you've gotten your life back. And those are the things sometimes you need to study. This is a business. Never forget it. I'm not here to work overtime. I don't get paid for overtime.
So there's a few things in this thread that I think are really worth just pulling out for a second. Number one, CRMs, organization. Like if you want to have a high performing, growth in your business, if you want to have that sense of like streamline, that you're seeing your targets and you're making progress towards them, start organized. Stay organized, start organized. It will make your life a dream. 6 months from now, when the number of leads you have has like literally quadrupled, you're going to be so much happier. It's going to be easier. You're going to be systemized. Your business will be flourishing. So number one, stay organized. Number two, remember everybody that requests one of your offers is a real person. They had a real reason to request. And I think that's something that Linnea touched on, Leon touched on, Jeff, you may have even touched on it, but just like when they are ready, like at some point they are an inquiry and at some point they are now a prospective client, but they're a real person. And the second that you can say, okay, I've identified this as a real person, I can, you've got that empathy side, and it starts like sometimes we want people to see us as the real person. We're like, I'm an agent. I'm real. I care about you. I want to see the best for you. I want you to find that dream home that you're looking for. I'm going to hunt that home for you. And I'm going to bring it to you. You're going to be so excited. But what focuses on us, it actually starts by saying, I see you as a real person. You're not just a lead. You're not just somebody. You're not a number. You're not trying to get my, this offer for free. You actually are a real person with a real need. And there was a real reason that you went to the work of making the submission and were willing to give out your personal information to get the information back. You're a real person. It starts there. Remember that, because then all of a sudden you think about it differently. It's like, well, imagine if you were standing in a room and you had 100 people who are in your market who have raised their hand that they are interested in buying or selling in your marketplace. Like, just think about that. 100 people sitting in a room, an auditorium, like you're there, 100 people. Those are real people. That's actually what's in front of you right now. There's 100 people who've raised their hand saying that they're in. Now, grow that to 1,000 or 2,000 or 3,000. You're literally on a stage in a concert, all with people who have raised their hand. They're all real. Every single person there is real. So when you are sending them information, just remember that it starts with you and makes it so much easier down the road to create that relationship, because it even filters in the language that we use when we're messaging. Like, because you're speaking to someone real who has a real problem. And back to that connection thing that we touched on earlier. That's one way that you can really help create that connection, is when people feel like they're being communicated to as like a real person. And a simple example of that I shared on in our team meeting on Monday was this guy. He goes to a restaurant and he orders soup, and the soup's cold. And so he says to the server, the soup's cold. And the server in that moment could choose to respond in so many different ways. But I love the response. It says, "Oh, that's awful. I would hate to get cold soup. Let me get that fixed for you right away." And so immediately it changed the whole situation. He's like, "I'm loyal to that restaurant, even though they gave me cold soup." Because it's like when we communicate to people as people and we start there where they're at, opens the conversation. It opens the door. All right, this is good. More questions or wins?
I want to comment. I was going to comment on Jeff just posted something about the real estate board. One of the things that we always want to do that makes us stand out is to do something different. And it sucks that we have to find workarounds. I mean, up there, home beat instead of home bot, this, that, whatever. But one of the things that can I shouldn't say level the playing field. One thing that elevates the playing field for you is the fact, come at them different. BombBomb works across all platforms, Zoom, Loom, whatever. So if you have to use a workaround, like taking more video to go after these guys or do whatever, do it, because this is how you stand out from others and become that known person. I hate workarounds on systems, but everybody has to do it one way or another. And if I have to take 2 steps to cover 1 step someone else has to take, I'm still keeping my focus on the end result. So don't give up on the fact that the homebot ain't there. Find something else. BombBomb will track your opens wherever you're at. There's other systems. Go find something else, use it. Because here's the one thing I want you to remember. Others aren't doing it, you are. This is how you get out there, stand out and be that person.
Yeah. Make that connection, be personal. It's like that Maya Angelou quote, people will forget what you said or what you did, but they won't forget what they made you feel. So what are you making people feel? Are you making them feel like they're a person, or are you making them feel like they're a lead? So come at them, be personal, provide that value, and just help them whatever process they're in, wherever they are in their pipeline. If they're 3 months away, 12 months away, help them, make them feel something.
Yes. Maria, you just shared a win in the chat. Do you want to share that here?
Hi guys, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah. Hello.
We can now.
All right. So I know that, is it Leon? Leon said that don't put the leads in the MLS auto, like an auto email thingy. I agree with him to a certain extent, because we actually started transporting all of our StreetText leads into whether if they're sellers, like recently sold comparable automation, like give them the latest data of what's recently sold in their neighborhood. And yeah, we got somebody who's interested in selling. So, I mean, I understand there are people who will subscribe you, but if they're not taking this seriously and they want to subscribe me, then that's okay. Let them subscribe me. I'm okay with that. I want to work with people who are interested in, taking the next action. And so yeah, that's a small win.
So you plug them into your auto sold comps, and then an old lead called you and wants to sell.
Exactly.
That's
and
awesome.
That's an fee from maybe, I would say, maybe like 4 months ago. Yeah.
Well, congrats. So that was a 4-month-old lead. Awesome.
Were you giving them
Yep.
touches before that, Maria?
I was, they were in the home bot. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because see, I always say this, and bear in mind when I say surfing the net, if you think if we think we're the only person they've seen, we're probably the 5th site they've been through. So speed to lead is important, but like I say, if you want to sit there and not be overwhelmed, if I have 20 leads come in this week and I punch them all into Matrix here for me, I know I'm going to lose some. Or the other problem that you'll face is they are working with others. So that's why I say, rather than get backlogged, if you've got engagement and you say, hey, I'm sending you something, and they accept it, but don't blindside them sending them stuff where you'll get a high rate of unsubscribes.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you on that. But however, I'm actually setting them up in a criteria where, for example, they're looking to sell in the Bay Area, or their home is in the Bay Area. And then so I put within maybe 1 mile radius of where they're living at. And if they're looking to buy, based on wherever the buyer's ad, then I will plug in to send them specific new listings in the area they're looking at. So, it's numbers game. I'm not able to service all the leads, but it's
Maria, you're cutting out a little bit here. But I think what you're saying is the same thing as what Leon's saying, which is you want to provide value. And I think what Leon was saying is, but you don't want to hit them up every single day with the same thing that's causing auto subscribe. So you don't want to, you want to make sure that the amount that you're communicating with people is the amount that they actually really want to digest. And you're sending them something that's of value. That's good. And I think that's the same thing, because if you're sending somebody an auto comp, that's awesome. That's really value right there. It's no different than HomeBot, which is, yeah. So I think if I understand correct, you can correct me if I'm wrong, Leon. I think that's exactly what you're saying.
Yeah, so like my MLS, what I do on sellers that just first start when I'm looking at stuff and they're 3 or 4 months out, my MLS, a lot of people don't use the tools they have. I can go on my MLS and I can set a send up to go out monthly, weekly, ASAP, whatever. If I put them in there and they're not ready to pull the trigger, I'll set them up for monthly drip because it's going, and then HomeBot's still feeding them. But if I set it up where they're getting something every day, I wake up to 100 emails a day, and I go to bed with a clean phone. So when you say being mindful of people, they get to the point where your great information is lost in all the bad information others are sending them. And so it's not a result of you sending them bad information. It's a matter of them being overwhelmed on their end from these 5 and you get 5 and 6 realtors all trying to send them email at the same time. Pretty soon they just dump everybody. So if I do that once a month, it comes out, or once a week, or however, but you just have to be mindful of the needs and think about the receiving end, how they're going to take it. And then if they come back and now they're actively searching, go back in and adjust, tweak the search and do it. But if you're just dumping everything straight in MLS and just sending it as soon as it comes, these guys are getting emails at 2 in the morning or 5 a.m. and this and that, you're going to lose people. And so that's I say be mindful when you throw it in there, how you're delivering your message.
I think it
is a part.
Yeah, I think there's this healthy line between 2 different mindsets. Like we can become unhealthily addicted to that unsubscribe button, where we're so scared, like we watch it and we see like our unsubscribe. So all of a sudden we stop doing something. So that's the difference when we talk about, like when I was mentioning vanity metrics. So vanity metrics are, look how high my subscribe number is. and I do a post or I send an email out, and all of a sudden I lose subscribers. But that post got me engaged in a bunch of different conversations. So actually the objective, the conversations was good. And even though I lost some unsubscribers, maybe they weren't my people. So it's like, if I do a post and I lose a ton of unsubscribers and I get nothing like back from it, my responses, then that's something I want to measure. So it's like this healthy. Sometimes what happens is we use the unsubscribe button as like why we are going to pursue something. So we stop pursuing something that was going to work because we're watching that number so closely. Like, don't get hypersensitive to the unsubscribe button. Just be cognizant of like, hey, is this working? Am I getting a response from this? As you send the email out, is this email about me or is this email about them? Is this useful for me or is it useful for them? Because you can spam people and you will unsubscribe for non-useful content, but don't get so, it's like people turning Julie off right away because they get a bad response from Julie instead of tweaking Julie to make her work better, or like turning a certain campaign off just because you got a bad response to it. So it's just be careful about, you know, getting hypersensitive to that unsubscribe button. There's a healthy boundary there, I think.
And the others, and that's such well said, Ira. I love how you communicate. And then the other side to that, of course, is, have you ever felt so hungry that you're just like, I'm gonna get this person? You know what I mean? Like, you wake up in the morning, you're fresh, your mind is fresh, you're gonna start sending out emails, you're gonna go for it. And then the next day happens, 24 hours feels like a lifetime. And you're like, I've waited 24 hours for a response. I'm gonna get them in the morning. And then the next day you're like, it's another 24 hours, no response. I'm gonna get, and then unintentionally we filled their inbox. And so they start unsubscribing. And so it's the same, it's the other side of it, which is when we are really, really hungry, when we're very excited to reach out for somebody because we just know that we got good value for them and we can solve their problem and they got the listing that we want in that neighborhood and we're just gonna hunt them and go for it. Just to like know that, like, filter our enthusiasm with what would I actually want to receive if I was on the other end. If I got the email and I know that it landed, maybe I just want to have a second to respond. And what would feel like a good amount to digest. And that's just it's a good way, because some people are afraid of the unsubscribe, some people are the opposite and they're not afraid at all. And so that's where the art comes, and that will actually increase the number of conversations you get, because people will respond to you if you give them the space to respond. And that will increase your conversion rate, will increase your outcomes, your ROI, the number of deals, number of listings you have in the market, and everything else. So it's just making sure you're just kind of, you're constantly looking at what you're doing and you're reflecting on it each week and saying, okay, did that increase the number of responses that I got this week?
I think Marcus is not here, but I mean, if you see the way that Marcus manages his friends list, the advantage of him managing his friends list the way he does on Facebook is that the people that he does have as friends, he's really engaged with, because it's not just this whole slew of a crazy amount of people. He's constantly reaching out to see if people are engaged, if they're still wanting to talk. I mean, and then if you're not talking to him, he just cuts you out. And so, but it also means that he has a list of people on his Facebook where he's like, I know these people are like my people. So then he can reach out and talk to them because he doesn't have these like massive lists of people that are disengaged. So, I mean, there's this balance between, you know, it makes you more effective when you are just being you and you're kind of allowing the whole filter of that to lose the people just aren't your people. You're not putting efforts into people that just don't align with you and are never going to do business with you anyways. You don't want to be always trying to appease the naysayer. You want to be appeasing the people that are like, this is my person. Like, this is the person I like. Like, I would love to run into this person at the coffee shop and have a conversation with them. That's where you want to put your focus. I mean, the greasy, what do they say? The squeaky wheel is the one that always gets oiled. And, you know, I managed many fitness gyms across like North America in my past. And what would happen is you'd have a couple people complain about something, and we completely change our programming. And then all of a sudden, everybody that loved it would be like, what the hell happened to this class? I love this class. And we'd have like riots and they'd be wanting to slash your tires in the parking lot. And it was because we focused so much on the wrong people. We focused on the ones that had the complaints, and we didn't focus on the ones that were being served really well. So just don't change your strategy based on the person that's not in alignment with the way you want to do business. And I mean, that's not business, that's life. Like, who do you want to be surrounded with? You want to be surrounded with people who have commonalities with you. And I'm not saying that you cut everyone else that doesn't, but you want to prioritize your focus around people that you're gonna move forward with, that you're gonna be in alignment with it. And don't be scared about leaving people in the dust. That fear, that scarce mindset that there's not enough people out there, you'll do yourself a favor in business when you decide, I'm just gonna show up as me, and I'm gonna work with people that wanna work with me. And the funny thing is years from now, you'll be surrounded with people that you can trust. Those are your people. And that's a huge kind of, it's just a mindset that you have to shift into, that kind of, sometimes we don't realize it's infiltrating everything we do. So it's really about stepping back and checking your mindset and then going over everything and looking at it again.
That is so good, Ira. I want to share a personal story. So I'm in my neighborhood. I've been getting people showing up to my door, dropping off flyers, knocking on the door. Everybody from people washing windows to cleaning gutters to resurfacing our driveway. So we had a driveway resurfaced this year. I wasn't planning on resurfacing it this year, but it got done because somebody showed up at the house. And I have been so appreciative that people are out there hustling, getting stuff done, showing up at my door. It's just something, I've just been loving it. I'm like, you keep coming, keep knocking on the door. And well, there's a lady in my neighborhood, and turns out she did not feel the same way. And so she's got a sign on her house that says like no soliciting and all this stuff. And she's really, I wasn't so happy. And so she got really upset. And so she was sharing how like she could not believe this tenacity of this company who was trying to ask her if she was happy with her phone line and if she'd like a new one. And I laughed about it because it's like, wow, it's exactly what Ira's saying. It's like, we sometimes will stop at the door because we'll speak to that lady and not realizing that the person next door is so grateful that people are door knocking and showing up. And so sometimes it's like we change our perspective and suddenly we change what we see. And I would love to impart my perspective to that lady so she could see like how incredibly awesome it is that people are showing up. But also it's the same for the person who's actually going along and knocking on doors, because there is somebody on every street who is going to be super grateful, and metaphorical street as well, like the literally getting out there, putting the information, and you following up with them, you're sending that stuff. They're going to be really, really appreciative that you are doing the job, and they're going to say, you know what, I really want to work with this person because I know that they've got my back in the marketplace. Because look how hard they work to get my business. I know how hard they're going to work to negotiate my deal, and that at the end of the day is really important. And so figuring out the people that, that you actually, not just that you're, oh yeah, great, they like and want to work with me, but I actually like and want to work with them. I actually say that this is worth my time and my investment. So Ira, that was really cool. I'm glad you shared that gym story.
And I think the most powerful thing you own in terms of earning trust with people is consistency. When they see that you show up consistently without fail, they're like, this is someone I can trust. This is someone who isn't dabbling in real estate. This is someone who isn't here for me one day and not here for me the next. So it's really like consistency is such a powerful tool for you to make sure that you're on top of, because it speaks volumes about how people can trust you. If you're inconsistent, people quickly realize I can't trust this person. Like I'm not going to be able to use this person. But we sometimes hold back because we're like, I'm bugging them. No, you're just showing them how you consistently show up around a market that you really care about. But I think we're like 50 minutes past the hour. Unless you have an aha that you have to drop, feel free to drop in and drop your aha as we close up here. Just know we dropped a bunch of new classes. So if I'm doing a leveraging automations class on Thursdays now. with the StreetText.com, like our Calendly.com/StreetText link. We have a custom ads class that we've struck up again. Marcus does his Facebook conversion 101. So lots of opportunities to keep jumping in and learning, but don't just get stuck on the learning. Now it's time to go do something from this mastermind, go layer something. Don't just, because we can get addicted to like, I'm learning. No, it's time to stop learning now. It's time to go get some work done, right?
And we're gonna have a guest
What's leverage
on
cover?
the mastermind in 2 weeks as well. Sorry, Leon, go. Yeah.
What does the leverage class cover, Ira?
I'm really just breaking down automations and the advantage of automations and going through like some how-tos to get people to really understand, like, how do you automate you and get your personality out there and to work for you when you're doing other things. Like, that's the key to automation. So it's really just, and I'm keeping it really basic right out of the gate so that you can just understand how it works in StreetText, or whether you're going to pull it out and do it in another CRM. It's just breaking it down more. As always, great to spend the day with you. So go get something done. Put your learning to work. And then when you get it done, put it in the insider group. This is what I learned on the mastermind today, and I didn't stop there. This is what I implemented. The key is implement and layer. Don't get stuck and overwhelmed. I don't know what to do. I'm just going to do nothing. Don't go there. We'll see y'all later.